First of all, my name's Garret Graves and represent portions of St. Charles Parish and 12 other parishes up in the U.S. House of Representatives. Most importantly, I want to thank y'all for being here tonight. I want to thank you for being here because I don't think that many people in FEMA fully appreciate what is actually happening on the ground. I understand that these people, and I know, Mr. Guerin, you didn't write this, and this isn't your policy, but people in Washington that are writing this, I don't think they appreciate the impact that it has on South Louisiana and other areas around the United States. So I want to be very clear. I am totally opposed to risk rating 2.0, this new FEMA methodology that is causing a surge in flood insurance rates. Does that mean that we want you to live in homes that are at risk of flooding? Absolutely not. So what we've been doing, in fact, I was just looking back at letters, as soon as we heard that this was moving forward again, dating back to May of last year, we began having conversations with FEMA, meetings with FEMA, sent them letters back in April and May of last year, telling them that this was a flawed strategy, that they needed better communications, they needed to understand some of the predicted rates on the ground. As President Jewell noted, I mean, we have seen just surges in rates going from $560 a year to $6,000, $7,000 a year and more in St. Charles and Lafourche parishes and in other areas. Let me say it again. Does this mean that we want people to live in areas that are vulnerable, to go through the devastation, the awful conditions that we saw last year with Hurricane Ida? Absolutely not. What needs to happen is that we've got to make sure that we're making the investments in hurricane protection, in flood control, and in strategic restoration of our coastal area to prevent this storm surge from coming into areas like St. Charles Parish. Now, I'll tell you, in the past few years, we have made record progress. I know that may not be necessarily a relief to some of you, but we've been able to pull in $6 billion in new flood protection, in new hurricane protection, and strategic restoration of the coast in just about the last three and a half years. Projects over on the east side, like the West Shore project of Lake Pontchartrain, that project literally has been stuck since before I was born. We secured $760 million for it, authorized it for construction, got every penny that was needed, and the project is under construction today, only to have them come back and tell us that they were short funding. Not short a little bit, they were short over $400 million on a $760 million project. I don't know how you do that. I've built these projects much of my life. I've never seen things like this. Regardless, we just announced another $453 million we secured for the project. It's moving forward. There's a key project in this area known as Upper Barataria. On the southern end of this project scope, it's areas like Lafourche Parish, St. Charles, and Jefferson Parish. Y'all are well aware because we tried to drive on it. Hurricane 90 was underwater before Hurricane Ida made landfall. That's a key evacuation route. It's a key evacuation route, and as y'all know, the westbound lanes over there by Sparse, it was underwater. And this was before the hurricane even made landfall, and of course after. We all know it was all underwater. It was a disaster. This project is designed in that area, in the Upper Barataria Basin. It's designed to provide protection along that entire area. So I'll say it again. Lafourche, St. Charles, Jefferson parishes, all the way up to Ascension Parish, just south of Gonzales. This project's designed to provide protection there. We just recently announced the first funding for that project. It's $8 million, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but what this is for, it's for all of the engineering and design of this project. This project's ultimately going to be about $1.5 billion in funds. We're going to do everything we can to get this project moving forward as quickly as we can, because my opinion is that I think that we can move in a different direction on how flood insurance, the National Flood Insurance Program, calculates rates. Nobody wants to have people living in vulnerable areas, but you can't do that without coming in and first making investments in safer communities. And so that's why we've, again, pulled in record funding, $6 billion, things that people have never been able to do. Like I said, projects stuck since before I was born. We're getting these projects moving, we're making the investments and trying to make St. Charles Parish and South Louisiana a safer place to live. I want to go through a few other things that, that we've worked on. Back in September of last year, Congressman Scalise and I also wrote to FEMA following up from a conference call we had with them, asking them to delay Risk Rating 2.0 to have meetings like this first to understand the on-the-ground conditions. We joined, it was dozens of other members of Congress, and I don't remember how many exactly, but bipartisan members of Congress. Congressman Pasquarello and I from New Jersey led a letter to the Speaker of the House and others asking them to put provisions in an upcoming budget bill to stop this from happening. On September 21st of last year, I offered an amendment to the appropriations bill to block this from being implemented, and we were blocked from even offering the amendment. We came back and again on September 30th of last year and tried to do an amendment again. Once again, we were blocked. And then on February 8th of this year, Congressman Troy Carter and I offered a bipartisan amendment to block the implementation of this, and our amendment was blocked from even being offered. And when I say they blocked our amendment, I want to be clear. They used procedural maneuvers to prevent us from even being able to offer the amendment for a vote in the House of Representatives. So two things. One, we're continuing to work with FEMA. We're trying to educate other members of Congress that are going to be impacted by this, helping them understand how awful this is going to be on communities all across the United States. And we're concurrently, or sort of the parallel course, working on making record investments in hurricane protection, flood control, and strategic restoration, the strategic restoration of coastal Louisiana, because that is ultimately what we need to be doing. I remind you, Louisiana's lost 2,000 square miles of our coast, not because of anything you did. This is largely because of how the Corps of Engineers has managed the Mississippi River system. Louisiana used to grow. So we are more vulnerable from the south. We don't have our buffer there anymore. There's a reason Arkansas doesn't evacuate when hurricanes come. We're their buffer. Our buffer's been lost. And so it is more vulnerable. But I'll say it again, not because of anything you did. Secondly, Louisiana, right here on the Mississippi River, right here, the river's right there. We drain New York, we drain Montana, and we drain Canadian provinces. So they're sending us more water. There's more water. Y'all are aware. We've seen higher record levels of water on the Mississippi River in the last 10 years than we've ever seen before. The opening of the Bonnet is almost becoming this annual event. And so we're more vulnerable from the south and we're more vulnerable from the north. But I'll say it again, it's not because of anything anybody here has done. So how do you charge us for that increased vulnerability? It's unjust. And that's why we have been fighting this. We're going to continue to fight this and educate other members of Congress. We've brought Republicans and Democrats down here from around the country trying to show them the vulnerability, show them the problems that this causes down here. And as I said, we've made a lot of progress in getting the investments, but we've got to stop Risk Rating 2.0 from being implemented. So thank you very much. And as President Jules said, we are going to cover flood insurance and Risk Rating 2.0 here, but if anybody has any other topic they want to talk about, I'm happy to stay back after this and meet with you, talk with you one-on-one. In addition, we have a few folks from our team here. Where'd y'all go? Oh yeah, David Cavell is right there. Shayna and Terry are here somewhere. So we have three folks here, and they're also happy. Oh yeah, there's Shayna right there sitting down, and I'm not sure where Terry went, but you're welcome to engage them as well during the meeting. Thank you.